Yes, I
Yep.
can't wait to start this episode. It's for obvious reasons why England has been victorious. Welcome to the Soccer Comic Rant. After 55 years of tournament play against Germany, England was finally victorious today. And we put balls in the back of their nets. But before we get into that, if you're watching this on YouTube, like and subscribe. Please tell your friends about it if you enjoy the podcast every week. And if you're listening at allthingscomedy.com, which has a host of other podcasts at their website. And Bill Burr, Bert Kreischer, Tiger Belly, Tom Papa, Breaking Bread. Just the list goes on. It's crazy. The best comics in America. Some of them are on there doing the podcast. Some of them have joint podcasts. So check that out. Thank you for our producer Aaron Brungart for putting this together. You can also listen on iTunes and Omni Studio. Uh, the podcast sponsor is onthevalleyapparel.com. If you go to onthevalleyapparel.com, you'll see tanks, hoodies, t-shirts, and sweatshirts for men and women. Use my promo code ComicRant and you get 20% off at onthevalleyapparel.com. And we got some of the usual suspects. We've been watching the Euros. We've been chatting over uh, uh, and DMing each other. Some people have been doing more chatting than watching the games. So let me just introduce. I'm going to introduce our resident troll last because that's what he deserves. And what up, Lee? Straight out of England, Southampton supporter, stand-up comic, and you just witnessed some greatness. I know you don't want to call it greatness, but how you feeling?
I mean, the result was great. I mean, it was not the best game to watch for 70 minutes, but I mean, you can't criticize the result. I mean, it was crazy. We stepped up when it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
I was in Southampton for the game as well, and the streets were carnage.
Nice.
Just cars were driving around afterwards, like honking the horns, and just people singing in the streets, and I was almost like, let's chill. Like we beat Germany, but we've not won anything yet. So
now you got.
You mean we Southampton or we England?
We gotta celebrate the hump. It's just the hump.
Yeah.
You gotta let it's like if you were choking on something and somebody pumped it out of your chest, you would celebrate being able to breathe again, even though you gotta breathe for the rest of your life. It's not. But I relate to getting over the hump. Like, but we'll get into more stuff, and I'll introduce. What up, Neil? From
What
India,
up?
by way of living in San Diego, stand-up comic, Chelsea fan. Got the platinum headset on. What's the deal?
Oh, I'm loving it. I'm so happy that England now, like, it's about having a clear path to the semi-final. Now it's a clear path to the final. So the disappointment's been put off for another day.
So you're actually rooting for England?
Yeah, I had England. I mean, I have to root for England now because I had England and France in my final.
All right. So go ahead.
So yeah,
all right.
I just have to say this is probably the best international tournament I've seen since I don't know when was the last time. I think the Korea World Cup was really good, but I don't remember.
The last World Cup was pretty good too. There's something interesting.
I mean, this is box office every game.
This is something else though. This is something else. I really love the last World Cup, but this is just some next level shit.
Korea World Cup.
Paul. So Martin, we're gonna get coming next is Martin Harris, comic. He's born in Poland. His favorite team that he supports and dies for is Spurs, but for some reason roots against England, the country where his team is from. And as it says at the bottom of the screen, UK 2020 tramps, because any team that England plays against, he roots for that team. And hey, Martin, maybe you'll get lucky one of these days.
Yeah, I just wanna correct on what Neil said about the 2002 World Cup, because at the time I was working full time, actually on two different jobs and covering that World Cup. I think it was actually one of the worst World Cups because the referees pushed Korea to the semifinal, making some crazy decisions against Italy first and then against Spain. I don't know if you remember that, Lee, but those were like one of the worst officiated games in the history of football. So that put a huge shadow over that World Cup. And Germany made it to the final. They didn't deserve that because they had a really bad team that year. And the only positive was United States having a really good tournament. I don't know. England beat Argentina. That was a pretty good game. And France, and we will get to that eventually. France had probably their best team in terms of talent, because they had all those European champions and world champions, and some new guys like Djibril Cissé, like Christian Val from Barcelona, and France didn't make it out of the group. And we'll get back to France because this team kind of reminds me of the 2002 team. But moving to England, yeah, I mean, it's good sometimes to.
Martin, we're not talking about England. And your intro is longer than the entire podcast. Just slow down. Neil,
like Ukraine, Lee, my family grew up in Ukraine.
Let me ask the question, Lee. Why? There must be a reason, and it might be personal. It might be England's performance, but you confirmed to me. What was the reason why you? Who said it was? Who said the Korean tournament?
Yeah, me. Yeah.
Oh, why was that?
Well, part of the reason why it was so much fun was Martin already talked about that. There were so many crazy things that were happening.
Okay.
The run by Korea was not expected. Yeah, I mean, you can probably knock something. I mean,
both games were terribly. Like, did you watch the games? Actually, Italy and Spain were much better. They got terrible decisions again. They were like multiple decisions.
Yeah, but like I was a neutral, right? So for me, I didn't really care. It was still box office. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Like, just like this tournament, that tournament was like every game was like bang, bang, bang. There was something happening, right? I didn't say like this.
I'll tell you this. It was so one-sided, the refereeing against Italy, that the guy who scored the winning goal for Korea was fired from his Italian team the next day. They kicked him out from the club because they were so angry.
That was also the Italian club who hired Colonel Gaddafi's son as a player. So let's not use that club as a moral sort of indicator at all.
I love how Martin only remembers what he wants. Martin never fails to remember what he wants.
Not true. We can we disagree with Lee on a few things, but I'm sure like Lee is a historian of football and remembers how badly that tournament was officiated. It was an international scandal.
I think my point always, just to finish the loop on those refereeing decisions, was I always wondered that if it was so fixed, why would they stop at the semifinals? Like, you could have had your first Asian World Cup champion. If you really had it in your pocket.
Maybe up until a certain position. I don't know. It'd be too crazy. But
I love how we're arguing about past tournaments before we even get into this one today.
and there's so many points to argue in this tournament. Like I don't know whose mic is that. Is that mine? Can you guys hear me clearly?
Yeah.
Yeah, I can hear. Like now, I can hear it from everybody's mic. So. I think Aaron cleared it up. So listen, I don't even know where to start. Let's just start with England versus Germany, because like you would say, England versus Germany was a match of the day, and then who wants to see Sweden versus Ukraine? And then Sweden versus Ukraine starts off the way everybody expects, like, who cares? And then that turns into a fucking lightning bolt. Like there is no game and no day that you should walk away from the TV based on the beginning of a game. You should stay the whole way through because something is going to happen. And that's what they should just rename this tournament. Something is going to happen. Like when somebody posts an Instagram video and they say, what's that thing they say? Like, wait till the end. That's what this tournament is like. So, guys, England 2, Germany, zilch. What are your feelings, Martin?
Well, my feelings are a couple of different feelings. First of all, England is on the path right now that is a very good, historically very good path, which is 4 clean sheets in 4 games. That usually gets you far in the tournament. And a lot of those teams who had such a run with clean sheets made it at least to the semifinal. A lot of them actually won the title, because that's how you win titles. It's how you win trophies. Offense can carry you on to a certain point, but you win championships by having great defense. And I was critical of Southgate's game plan with having that many guys behind the ball playing more like destructive football. But as long as you have a guy like Sterling who can, with one play, change the game, I think that was the right decision with this particular game. Let's see what happens further, because England has a lot of great attacking talent, and we've seen Grealish coming on and making a huge difference and showing that he deserves to be on the field, and he probably will be in the next game. So I'm impressed with that part, with the defensive effort, and Pickford is solid, and their defensive formation is solid. Maguire is much better for England than for Man U. Rice had a very, very good game, playing with a yellow card for most of the game. So sometimes that's how you win titles. You're not playing the most beautiful football, but playing the most pragmatic football. And I think that's how they won that game.
And what's your take, Lee? He's watched it in Southampton.
I agree with a lot of what Martin said there, which surprises me to say. But no, like it wasn't like it was quite functional for a lot of the game. We didn't commit a lot of players forward. Like when we had the ball out wide, we were putting crosses into the box, and we had like 2 guys in there, and they had their whole defense in there and midfielders tracking back, and they was winning all the headers.
I mean, you got to try, you know.
Yeah, but like, you know, we were solid, and then I think the timing of the Grealish substitution was spot on from Southgate. He put him in at exactly the right moment. As some of the gaps started to appear, he knew that he could create something. He started giving Luke Shaw a bit more freedom to get up that left side. And I think that was, you know, I think it helped as well with Luke Shaw having Sterling move to the other side of the pitch, because Sterling would run quite wide when he was on Luke Shaw's side. And then in the second half, he started going over to the other side. So when Grealish was on, he was playing a lot more central off of the 3 than, you know, giving Shaw space to run down the outside. And then it switched around on the second goal. Like Shaw was central with the ball, and then Grealish went wide and put the cross in. So I think they were 2 very textbook goals in that if you can get the ball wide and you move the ball around the box quickly, which we didn't do in the first half, and then you put those low crosses in between the defenders and the goalkeeper, you get goals from those. What we were doing in the first half was we were putting high crosses in against German defenders who were just, you know, Hummels was winning everything in that first half. He was immense. And then we did it at the right time. We got some luck as well, like Müller missing his chance. That could have, you know, turned the momentum in German favour. You know, Pickford, two big saves, 1 in each half. Yeah. And I think he's matured a bit, Pickford, because I think previously he always looked like he had a mistake in him. And he looked solid today when he was needed in a you know, a huge, probably the biggest game he's played in his life. So yeah, I mean, it was boring at parts, but I can't be critical because it got the job done. So and even Kane scored, and he's probably been the most criticised England player, including by me, in this tournament. And you know, he did his job when it counted. So let's see what happens.
I feel like it was our best boring game, by far. You know, like we've had some stinkers, but this was the best of all the stinkers. And Neil, what do you have to say about this game? How you feel?
Yeah, I mean, I think like it was a boring game, but it wasn't a bad game though. Like
right,
tactically,
exactly.
It was working. Like both teams, I think it was tight, and I don't even think like you can blame the German team for, sorry, at least the German manager, you know, for not having a good game, because it eventually came down to a couple of chances either way, and England, you know, had those players, Kane and Sterling, who took their chances, and Germany's did not. Like Werner's chance, he fluffed his lines there, and yeah, I mean the Müller one. it needed to actually hit the boards for me to realize it didn't even go in. It seemed like it was headed for the net. And I think just to follow up on what Lee said about the timing of the Grealish substitution, what I really like was that when he made the sub, they didn't just carry on playing. Like when a player like Jack Grealish comes on, you have to play a little differently. So it was a very adaptable team. You know, played one formation when Saka was there, Saka playing wide, and he was kind of playing defensive. And then when Sterling moves over to the other side, yeah, you are going on the attack. And Jack Grealish is pretty much like that free-flowing kind of player. Like he's not really a winger. He's not really a number 10. He's somewhere in between. So moving him more, giving him more space centrally allows then Luke Shaw to bomb forward. And that's basically where the goals came from. So, I mean, there's a lot to be said about Southgate in terms of his team selection, the fact that he plays with so many people behind the ball. But we've seen in the recent past, both in the club football and country football, like the last two, like the World Cup champion France had, this array of attacking talent, but they played a pretty defensive route all the way to the final. And as did Portugal when they won the Euros last time. So it works in tournament play.
Yeah,
even this, Greece. Greece again. Even this season in the Premier League, like Manchester City, till the time they actually became, good in the last few months, they started their run back on the back of a lot of defensive solidity. Chelsea did the same thing to win the Champions League. So I think I think you can't really, fault him on the basis. I mean, I still would like him to move to a back four, especially with the coming two games that are against teams that don't have a lot of attacking strength. But he's found a formula that works. You can't really find a lot of fault with him.
That's pretty good. And so my thoughts on the game is, so Martin came over. He lives in my neighborhood, and he came over hoping to celebrate a German victory in my living room. That's how disrespectful this guy is. So when I just put in the chat at the end of the game that Martin has more tears in his eyes than the German players, it's because I was looking at him.
You had a live take on that.
Yeah, I should have. He was disturbed. So the game starts, right? The game starts, and Martin's like, "Oh, this is not good. You guys look tentative, right?" And then 10 minutes later, he's like, "Oh, England." I said, "Martin, that's because in minute 2, you determined the game was over and that we weren't going to do anything." So that's number one. So 20 minutes in the game, we're got German under some pressure. And like I said, it wasn't a great game, but we were better, and I want to give some credit to Sacco, because when what Martin was reacting to was Germans' instant pressure on us and pinning us in our half in the early part of the game. But I think there was a moment early in the game, like maybe 5 minutes in, when Sacco got a ball from someone and turned a German player and ran at the German defense. And I felt like that made the other English players go, wait a minute, this kid is 18, and we're fucking afraid to hold on to the ball and make a composed pass. If he can do it, we can do it. And I think that's what turned around the game, in the early stages of the game. So I want to give Sacco credit for that, for showing for leading with action, and giving some belief to the rest of the English players. Martin was saying, and a lot of people have been saying that the German coach, he's ran past his time as a coach.
We'll talk about it later.
But it's not just him. There's a lot of teams in the league that are in this competition that are good, but they don't have a 9, right? And that's their issue. They don't have a 9. It's not coaching. They have midfield. They have decent defense, but they don't have a 9, so it's hard for them to score. Poland had a 9, but the rest of the team can't support that 9. So that's their problem. It's not a coaching issue per se. So with Germany, you're looking at a team that doesn't have a 9, right? But not only don't they have a 9, they don't have a defense. They have 3 defenders that none of them play for Bayern. Bayern, if Bayern thinks you're good,
what
they
play?
would buy you.
Who
Say
else
what?
plays? How else plays for Bayern?
He doesn't play for Bayern. And you're making my point even more because he played for Bayern. Bayern bought him, used him, and then evaluated him up to the point where they thought he wasn't good enough and sold him. So that shows you if you have defenders that don't play for Bayern, that they're not on the Bayern level, that means, and they play for Germany, that means Germany's defense is going to be weak, Martin. So
They had Sule on the bench from Bayern.
he's a midfielder.
Sule? No,
Yeah, he's a midfielder. Yeah. He's a midfielder. So then there's that. So Martin also during the game was showing me all these hate tweets towards Sterling, and I said, where are you finding these tweets? Like he's like, everybody thinks Sterling sucks. I was like, where are you finding? He said, put in Sterling.
I didn't support it. I never said it.
They put in Sterling sucks.
He said, that's what Martin must have put in. He told me to put in Sterling and latest. And I saw a lot of praising comments. Martin's reading off to me all these
not at the beginning
negative comments. And I'm like, Martin, are you just looking in your drafts? Are these your drafts of how you feel about Sterling?
Not true. Not true.
But I'm just.
No.
But we both were reading different tweets to each other. Like a lot of people were saying Sterling and Sacco are carrying the team. But let's go back to the game because I want to say Pickford has made some world-class saves during this tournament period, and I would put the one against Havertz on a Gordon Banks level. Like it was a rocket, and even though it was in his direction, the reflex and the strong hand to knock that over the bar cannot be underrated.
It's come between players as well. Like he saw it late, I think, too.
Right, coming through the crowd, yeah. So it's like that save should never be underrated. Like when you look at Jordan Pickford's career, that save that's a rocket. You can't save rockets, and if it had went in, nobody would have blamed him. So that's how you know it's a good save. And then what else did I want to say about the game? The Grealish, class. Shaw, class. And Germany lost in Neil's favorite jersey. Sorry, Neil. And so on the Muller miss. There's different ways I looked at it, but one of the things I looked at was when you watch Walker come from out of the shot into the shot to almost stopping that shot from getting off. It's like, how fast is Kyle Walker at how old is he?
30, 31, 32 now, I think, maybe.
How fast is this fucking guy? Like, it's like cartoon speed. So, it's well played to Southgate. If he lost with that formation, we'd be killing him right now. He won with it. Like, I get it more. You're playing this. Oh, so this is the last thing I want to say. You're playing defensive like Italy. He's chosen a style, and it's like, we are playing like Italy. That's what we're going to do. Even though I have offensive players, he's like, I seen Greece win one. I seen Portugal win one, and we're going to go defensive. And now we're playing like Italy, and we're going to Rome to play Ukraine. So I'm glad we won and beat Germany and got over that 55-year hump. Anybody else got anything else they want to say about this game?
Yes, I do. First of all, I'm going to go to Germany in a second, but first I want to clarify the thing with Sterling, because you made it sound like I was the one criticizing Sterling.
No. I said your tweets. You read.
Yeah. People, and I think Lee can confirm that. There was a lot of criticism of Sterling.
Oh, yeah. I wanted to ask you that too.
He has a lot of haters in England and in English media. Like, media were criticizing him, during the tournament, that he's selfish, that he doesn't fit the team, that he's out of form, that Grealish should play, Sterling should be on the bench. There was a lot of that. And a lot of fans also were kind of, also hating him, kind of,
It's called racism, Martin.
I think he proved that, he proved his worth. Again, he scored 3 goals in the tournament so far. If England wins the tournament, arguably he might be the best player of the tournament. At least he'll be in the best 11 of the tournament. So I think he proved his value, but he is a polarizing figure. Since his conflict with the Sun, I think years ago, he's not the most beloved guy by the media in England. And they, whenever something happens that can criticize him, they criticize him. He's a target for them. I don't know if you agree with me, Lee, but I feel that way.
Yeah. What's the feeling towards Sterling, Lee, over there? Post game, and then
so the media go for him when they have a lot of like the Daily Mail and the Sun, which are two of the shittiest papers here. They always pick up on things he does in his lifestyle, which they don't criticize other footballers for. So when he buys a new car, they'll say, "Look how arrogant he is spending this money," and things like that. Like
spending his money.
Yeah, like it's all so stupid. And when he does well, they don't give him the credit he deserves. But when he doesn't play well, they give him more criticism than he deserves.
Right.
Because he's, I think he's a player who, if you want to dislike him, it can be quite easy to. Because in a game, because of how he plays, he takes a lot of risks, which means a lot of stuff doesn't come off. But because he takes those risks, eventually he'll win you a game, which he's done twice in the group stage out of 3 games. He won us 2 games with his goals. And then now in the group stage, and then now he's scored the first goal in a huge game like this. So you can't dismiss him. Like his record at City as well over the last few seasons, like his goal record and assists is, it's phenomenal. Like like I said, it's the nature of wingers. If you look at everything they do, wingers will always make mistakes in those positions. I think at times in the first half today, he was guilty of holding the ball too often and for too long and not playing a bit quicker.
That's because he knew the Germans would pass the ball to Kane, which they did, and Kane still. See, this is what Kane would have done with Sterling's early pass. Nothing.
Well, we were talking about teams not having a number 9. England didn't have a number 9 this whole tournament until the 86th minute today.
Right,
but he's done his job when he when it matters to close out a game. So hopefully that can give him a springboard. Because although he scored today, I don't think Kane should be above any criticism for how he's played in previous games. Because I don't think anyone thinks he's played well in the previous games. So I'm glad he scored, and hopefully it means he's got some confidence going into those games, because that goal he scored is what he should be doing. He should be in the penalty box between the width of the goal,
presenting himself like a plate for somebody to put a ball on. Yeah.
I have to say that he's injured, man. Like he had
that's what Martin was saying. He was every time Kane gave up the ball
again. I mean, he's not 100% healthy. He was bothered by injuries at the end of the season. He tries.
But surely, Martin? What do you care if he's fresh for Man City next season? Like, it's none of your concern.
let me tell you something.
Not happening.
Martin came to my living room to root against England, but to root for Kane. Like every time Kane messed up, he wouldn't deny that he messed up. He said he's injured, and he just made excuses.
I think Martin was just trying to see how well the Sterling Harry Kane combination is looking, because you're going to see a lot of it next season.
It's hilarious. Neil, so I have a question for you, and I'm trying to remember it. And it's not about the German jerseys. Fuck, there's something. God damn it, it's gone now. I had a specific question for you about this game, because there's something you don't like that happened.
The 3 at the back?
Nah, it wasn't the 3 at the back. It was something else. I just can't remember right now. I'll have to. Hopefully,
Werner being Chelsea Werner for Germany.
It wasn't. I love Werner's influence on Muller. It wasn't that.
Well, but Werner, it doesn't surprise me, because we've seen a lot this season what he did on that play.
But that, like, listen, I want to give Werner some credit on that. At least he took the shot, and it was a decent shot, and it had to be saved. It did go through Pickford's legs, and he did have to recover it. So and this,
it wasn't a miss in the sense that he completely fluffed his lines.
Like forwards can miss. It wasn't a miss. It was saved, and he had a defender on him. And
The worrying
limited
thing
space.
the worrying thing with Werner is that, you know, what you're saying, that happens even with the best of forwards, with the best of strikers. His ratio is just shocking.
Yeah.
That
He's
it's just
the Kepa of chances.
yeah, but like I mean, I don't think he's as bad as Kepa because
No,
Kepa is
like
historically bad.
you know
but
how you I know, but here's the funny thing, right? This is something I did want to say to you. I'm sorry I cut you off.
yeah,
If Kepa, if Warner, right, and
Is it-
Havertz did not
Yeah.
leave Germany, right, and played this year in Germany, they would have continued to have great seasons, and they would have joined the German team in better mental and football scoring form, and they would and Germany would have nines that they were confident in, and they might have been had a better tournament despite their lack of defense. But because they went to England, where everything was so new and everything was so unsure, and they had to acclimate, and you could see them still acclimating, and they're not as confident as they are in their abilities. Like that could have really fucked Germany over. These guys switching.
Well, it kind of did, right?
Yeah.
I just want to say one thing about Werner. It shows you how long the pandemic was and how much time it took out of our life. Because right before pandemic, and I remember that because I was on a movie set, and so I couldn't watch the game, but I was checking the phone. Werner was killing my Tottenham with RB Leipzig in the Champions League. That was the first day of pandemic. He was absolutely sensational, scoring goals, dribbling.
It was just Spurs, though.
It was the Spurs. It was the Champions League last 16 game.
Yeah, but it was just Spurs. It's not like he was playing some dope ass team.
Oh, come on, man. He was one of the best players in Bundesliga that season. He was absolutely incredible.
Yeah, that's my point.
Yeah.
But I will say though, I think there's a
no. But the last thing I'm gonna say before I give it to you, he was known as a clinical finisher at that time. He was a clinical finisher.
Yeah.
Hey, please.
I think that was the hope when we got, because last season, if you see, we had a lot of chances, and Tammy was getting goals, Judu was getting goals, but we felt we could upgrade, go to the next level in terms of being clinical, and that was one of the reasons why we paid for Werner. But it's been really bad. But
that's mental.
Yeah, I think we'll find out, right? Next season we'll find out if this is something to for real. I think there is a distinction to be made though between Werner and Havertz, because Havertz, I felt even at Chelsea at the back end of the season, he kind of redeemed himself
a little bit. Yeah,
Champions League semi-finals and finals, when it mattered.
Mm-hmm.
And even for Germany, I think this tournament, Havertz probably one of the few players who can who can leave with their heads with their head held high. I think he was really good today.
Yeah,
and I mean, should have got that. If Muller gets that in, I mean, those were two really game-defining contributions from Havertz. That save by Pickford and putting Muller through for that one-on-one. But yeah, I think just the shape of this Germany team is a little weird though, because they continue to keep playing Muller and Havertz, who are essentially the same kind of players.
But it almost worked.
It
almost worked. It's like if it worked, there's no criticism. Like McManaman said something in the studio because he was in there with Kahidra, and he was like people are saying Southgate shit worked, but Muller missed a goal, Werner almost scored, England hit their goals, so it's all based on. I feel like, listen, sometimes no matter what you're gonna do, you're gonna win or lose a game.
Yeah, it's gonna come down to something.
It's gonna come down to, and because somebody lost a game, it doesn't mean, and I'm not saying in this game, but I'm just saying the way they analyze football, period. It's like this coach did the wrong thing.
Yeah.
Well, that's all he could do. That's all he had. These guys, this formation, that suits the equipment that he has to play, and it's just is what it is. Sometimes there are blatant things that they miss, but Germany ain't got no defense, man. There's no names back there. The only name was sold back to Dortmund because he wasn't good enough, and Neil Lee was spot on about the high balls in the area, to beat Germany, you got to put the low balls in, because a low ball is what made Hummel score on Germany against France, and it was low balls, low crosses that beat him today. So,
well, if you like looking at the like the stats for the game, like the expected goals, which is looking at the quality of the chances that were created by both teams. So XG for England was 1.31, XG for Germany was 1.28, which means statistically the game was super close in terms of the quality of the chances created. So that's props to England for taking those two chances, and props to Pickford for pulling off a couple of big saves. That's the difference, because that's XG is always a really good indicator of whether a team deserved to win or not, or whether they were just clinical at the right moments. And that shows that the game was pretty much even, but England finished, Germany didn't. So
thank God, because Martin was in my living room and it would have been terrible.
But yeah, the last point with Germany though, because like we have to talk about that. It's not like it's the first tournament. It's not like the first tournament Germany didn't play well. It's the second tournament they didn't play well, and it's been 3 years between those tournaments. They were actually embarrassing in the World Cup 2018. And now they only had one good game in 4 games. And I still think they produce a lot of talents. I think it's not like they stopped producing talents. I think it's just the team is exhausted with their manager, who's been there for a long time and won a title. He will go down as a World Cup winner. But it's pretty unusual for a national team coach to stay that long. And I think they made a mistake by letting him stay that long. They should have made a change in 2018. Now the change is coming, and I think we'll see much better Germany next year in the World Cup, because I believe Hansi Flick will have a different voice in the locker room. Will probably pick different players and play a different system. It looks like this team was tired, and mutually the team was tired of the coach, and coach was tired of the team. If they make a decision of splitting before going to a tournament, it's usually not a great idea. It's usually a better idea if you just let it go and let someone else coach the team in the tournament. And I think they should have done it. Hansi Flick would be much better, I think, as a manager during this Euro for Germany. So much respect for Lev. He's done a lot of good stuff. First as an assistant to Jürgen Klinsmann, they revitalized German team after like a 10-year crisis in 2006 when they came third, I think, in the World Cup, playing really nice football with Podolski and Klose. And then they carried on, and 2014 was the masterpiece, beating Brazil 7-1 in the semifinals. And
Martin, why are you talking about former tournaments when we need to talk about this?
Because this is the end of the chapter, very important chapter in history of football. This is the definite end, and I think the definite end should have been 3 years ago, and Germany made a mistake.
Can I just tag what you're saying?
Yeah.
Thank you for your years of service, Joachim Low, and thank you for the win today. Appreciate you. But let's listen. I just want to. Time goes fast on the podcast, so I just want to ramp it. So I'm looking at this list, right? And I'm looking at all the round of 16 knockout games, and something happened every game, from Wales, Denmark, Italy, Austria, Belgium, Portugal, Netherlands, Czech Republic, Croatia, Spain, England, Germany, France, Switzerland, Sweden, Ukraine. But I want to talk about Switzerland versus France. And there's something to note here. Like you said it in the chat, but I said it to Martin. But you mentioned that all the group of death, Neil, was gone, right?
Yeah.
But like when Martin was in the living room before you put that in the thing, I said to him that because I saw the France game again last night. I just had to watch it again. And Conte was not Conte. And I wondered, did the group of death kill itself playing each other? And did they leave it all in a group of death just fighting to get out? So France seemed so lethargic against Switzerland when the game started, and throughout the moments when they did give up goals, did playing in a tougher group kill them? Because even Hungary wasn't even easy.
Yeah.
But overall, I just wanted to say that. And what do you guys think? Neil, go first about the France-Switzerland game.
Yeah, I think this was, I remember before the tournament, we were talking about the whole concept of lucky loser from the group.
Mhm.
And I think one of the things we thought was maybe even the lucky loser, like the third spot, won't come from this group because points will keep getting split so
Yeah,
much,
yeah.
but somebody else from another team. Well, the team got through in this case, but in terms of those were the games, like every game was a tough game. So all teams played like 3 tough games. Like
Mhm.
Hungary, the team that didn't go through, in 270 minutes of football, they were behind for only 12 minutes.
Oh shit.
So like none of these teams had a game to like, take their even for like a part of the game to be
Mhm.
to be relaxed. So yeah, maybe that played a role. But I guess the bigger thing that did play a role was there's something Ian you had brought up after that first game, like France's weakness with their fullbacks
Mhm.
meant that one injury and you kind of have you're struggling to figure out what to do. So that's why they had to go for the 3 at the back with the Luka Dean gone. And it was kind of weird because they went for it. They went for this guy Lenglet, who I don't think has ever played for France in the run up to the to the tournament, and he made a couple of the mistakes that that kind of hurt them. And with Varane, like even at Real Madrid, the fact that he has somebody like Sergio Ramos next to him has kind of benefited his career. So we don't know really how much of a good leader Varane is on his own. And
Can I just say,
yeah,
when I watch all the United stand, they just want Varane, and
yeah.
no, I don't want him. Like the same things they're complaining about Lindelof and Maguire
Maguire.
during key games. Like one of those goals was scored. A guy headed the ball in between him and another, and was it Mark? Who's the other French defender?
Lenglet.
But he
Kimpembe.
Kimpembe.
Kimpembe. Yeah.
Like you're not gonna solve a problem as big as you think you are. I feel like Man
Yeah.
United's
I mean,
players that we have there can Tuanzebe, just get Tuanzebe up to speed, get buy up to speed, and we don't need to buy a defender. Spend the money on Sancho and a central midfielder. I've changed my mind about a bunch of things during this tournament. Sorry, go ahead.
no, I think Varane is a good, international quality centre back, but it's just that he has a few things that we still don't know a lot about, like in terms of leadership, like how good a leader of the back line is he? Because he literally had to babysit two centre backs um, during this game, and it is affecting his game too. Like if you look at France's two of the goals came from losing air balls, where it wasn't really a very high quality air ball or a very high quality header that won. And if you look at the stats, like none of France's centre backs have a higher aerial win percentage in this tournament than even somebody like N'Golo Kante, who's not known for winning air balls. So there's definitely things there that in terms of the formation and the choice of players there, you could have had a few made a few different options. I know Martin, even during the game, he was going on and on about N'Golo Kante, and yes, N'Golo Kante didn't have as good a game that he typically has. But one thing I noticed very early on in the game was every time France was on the typical Kante move, right? He wins the ball and he drives forward with it. Now, when you're playing with Paul Pogba, that's restricted a little bit because unlike the midfielders he plays with at club level, Pogba is the guy who actually, is the box to box midfielder who can do a lot. So Conte hands back more. But what I was seeing in the first half was in a lot of these attacks, Conte was like isolated.
Yeah. The internet.
Is there anything you could do to help us? Appreciate
No,
it.
that's not from me then, because I muted myself and it's still there.
I think it's gone now.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yeah, like a lot of the attacks I was seeing, Kante was kind of isolated on the left wing. I just didn't understand what was going on because, I understand you're not playing with a fullback and a left winger. So you just have one guy there, but there's absolutely no use of having Conte in a position that he's not going to be able to influence the game. So there was a lot of things that were off during that game, and yeah, I mean, even having Benzema and Mbappe, who kind of like is similar to the Muller and Havertz situation at Germany. They're kind of like running into each other. Like the best spell that France had was those 10-15 minutes when they pretty much played with the front five with Coman, Mbappe, Benzema, Pogba. And if they had kept that shape for the entire game, this, we wouldn't even be talking about this.
That's pretty good. Lee, I want to ask you a question, and it's got to do with, so you're in England. I guess you get to see the show with Vieira and Keane, Roy Keane, and I love those guys, but what they said, kind of like blaming Pogba after a pretty much perfect game.
Yeah.
Like what do you feel, and what are people in England saying about like Roy Keane and Patrick Vieira, kind of, and what Patrick Vieira agreeing with Roy Keane and saying that those parts, like Pogba's mistake, just blaming him too much for losing the ball at that point.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he lost the ball, but he also stuck a ball in the top corner from 30 yards. So,
right.
And was playing great passes all over the pitch. And he's been one of their best players. Like some of the through balls he was playing in the Portugal game. And he even stepped up and took one of the most immaculate penalties you'll ever see. So every player has, it's a one little mistake. But I think the thing is with France, like, people can criticize the personnel that are in the team and that they might have been a bit imbalanced because of the players they were missing. But they were 3-1 up with 10 minutes left to go. And they fucked that up. And that's on the whole team. That's not on one mistake here or there. That's on the whole team for not seeing a game out. Like I say, 3-1, 10 minutes to go. You need to close that out. You need to do what you need to do to make sure that game is done. And then especially when they get back to 3-2, that's like your warning shot. And it's like, okay, we need to, make sure we stay solid now. And they didn't. I mean, credit to Switzerland because they showed unbelievable belief that they could do it. And, they were clinical when the chances came. So massive credit to them. And they have players playing, like they have players playing the game of their lives. Like Xhaka played like you've never seen him play for Arsenal.
Arsenal's like, where has that guy been?
Yeah. And, Serafovic was clinical when he had his chances as well. And for me, also I want to say another thing is just, it's a joy to watch because this will probably be his last tournament. And it was his last one his first one for a while, was Benzema. That goal when he took that sort of awkward first touch where the ball was really hard to deal with and then just dinked it over the keeper. He's one of the best finishers of all time. Like no one can argue that. And it was, it was a shame it had to end here for him, but it was a pleasure watching him play. And then, like I say, Pogba, despite that mistake, was a pleasure watching him play. They're players that you want to see do the things they do. I mean, there was one point when a ball was played to him in the centre midfield, it was bouncing, and he just hit one of those like side volley passes.
That shit
straight into someone's run.
He did the Modric shot as a pass.
Yeah, like it was just like the guy's just got unreal technique, and you just enjoy watching players like that. So I feel like it's a little bit pedantic to pick out one mistake. Yes, it led to a goal, but he also carried them to the scoreline that they had at that point anyway. So it's unfair, but Vieira looks like he's going to be the new Crystal Palace manager, so we can criticize his mistakes next season.
Yeah, hilarious.
Why did these ex-players behave as if they never lost the ball?
I know, it's so crazy because Clement, because I tried to watch it before the game when Pogba lost the ball, but from what I remember of him losing the ball, right, is as soon as somebody passed him the ball, he didn't dilly-dally on the ball. A Swiss player jumped on him right away and tapped it away from him. It wasn't like one of those things where Pogba's holding up the ball and had a few seconds. Like there was no time. So it's like that happens in football, and every player has had that when they've had no time to even do anything with the ball. It wasn't even legitimately his ball. It's like a 56-54 pass that the player made to him. And it's like, so, but they stuck to that. So there's an agenda there, just period. And then just to say one thing to what you're saying, Lee, about I feel like that French team was zapped, and we're talking about the coverage, because Mbappe was doing it a little bit in the beginning of the game, like he was like running back and helping defend. But I just remember in all the French games, you see Griezmann making tackles, Mbappe making tackles in the backfield, and Conte, he doesn't just stand there and wait for shit to happen. He disrupts any type of development that's potentially is going to happen with the other team. Like, he's the guy that turns off the stove before the water boils over into the fire. You know what I mean? And he wasn't doing that. And it just is this lethargic game from the entire team, which so they ended the game the way they started. When you're saying that they had the warning shots, it's just the energy was not there, just period. And there's a question for Martin. Do you think Deschamps should have invited Benzema and should have just left him out and gone with Giroud? Because Giroud can say, when I was playing, we won a World Cup. This is just a European Championship, and I'm on the bench, and we didn't win. And the friendly before, when they took Benzema out, I scored 2.
No, I don't think that was a problem. I think Benzema did his job. The reason why I started this podcast pretty much with reference to the 2002 team is because French mentality and French philosophy, there's certain type. French people have a certain way of looking at life. Like if they win too much, they get cocky, and that's what happened. I think with this team after winning the World Cup, they got a little cocky. Plus that also happened with the individual players, where Pogba, by far the best player they had in this tournament, was kind of scrutinized. He had something to prove. He had a chip on his shoulder, and he played well. I think Mbappe was praised by everybody, including myself, and pretty much people are saying that he's the next to the throne after Messi and Ronaldo to be the best players in the world. And maybe he already is the best player in the world. Well, not so soon, not so fast. Lewandowski is still better than him, and Mbappe. That's his first major flame on his CV. They had 3, unfortunately, big disappointments, 3 embarrassing performances from 3 key players, which is Mbappe, Varane, and Kante. And Kante was taken to school by Xhaka. Xhaka played the game of his life, and he took N'Golo Kante to school. He took him to school in every single aspect of the game. And Kante was great for Chelsea in the Champions League, but he was absolute embarrassment at Euros. And unfortunately, he's the engine of this team. And Pogba couldn't win by himself, even if Pogba really surpassed even my expectations, because sometimes I don't value him that high. Definitely not as high as Ian does. And I think he played much better for France than for Man U at any point of his on his time at Man U. He played much better for France in this tournament. And the fact how they were wasting his effort, especially in overtime, when he had one killer pass after another, killer pass, and they're just wasting those chances. Super frustrating. When you're 3 key players, 1 attacker, Mbappe, 1 midfielder, Kante, and 1 defender, Varane, when all 3 of them have bad tournament, that's the result. Obviously, it's a huge sensation, but let's not forget, France has only won 1 out of 4 games thanks to an own goal of Hummels. They didn't beat Hungary, they didn't beat Portugal, they didn't beat Switzerland. So there's nothing they can complain about. A bad luck or something. No, they can't.
That's true. The only thing I want to that's a really good point. The only thing I want to question you on is, so you said Mbappe had a bad game, but the goal that Benzema scored was an assist from Mbappe, and the goal that Benzema scored second was Mbappe backheel pass through the defense to Griezmann, who had a one-on-one shot with the goalkeeper. He shot it, the keeper parried it, and then Benzema finished it. So how could a guy responsible for 2 of 3 goals have a bad game?
I mean, it's not like he lost his talent. It's not Space Jam 3, you know, that somebody took his talent away and he forgot how to play football. But let's not forget, in the overtime, he had 2 golden opportunities to finish that game, and even in the first 90 minutes. Let's not judge Mbappe on the Seferovic level, you know. Let's judge Mbappe on Mbappe level. And to judge him as a guy who's one of the greatest players in the world, that's how you judge him, by missing those chances in the overtime after killer passes from Pogba.
All right. We got half an hour, right? So I want everybody to just pick a game that they want to talk about, you know, because there's some crazy, every game something happened. And so, you know, there's the Spain. That was pretty crazy. And talk about throwing away a lead. And talk about you know, this almost was the what happened to France almost happened to Spain. And there's something funny about the Croatia, the way they came back into this game, that's similar with Switzerland, because normally when a team is down, they show desperation to get back in. But both of these teams, like at the 75th minute mark around each game, like kind of looked like they given up and then tied the games. Like there was no like desperation from Croatia, especially when they let in the 3rd goal, or how they let in the 3rd goal. That was the sign of a defender who had given up and a team that had given up. And then they get 2 back, like almost accidentally. It's like, if you calm down and you don't rush, then, and just lull the other team into believing that they won, you could score. Switzerland pretty much did the same thing. Like there wasn't that, like, let's get the ball to the spot and run back now and just like sliding all over the place. It was like, we lost and then goal. And then only after the 2nd goal did each team, Croatia and Switzerland, kind of pick up the pace. But Neil, what do you feel about the Spain? Because I think you're the one that said it.
Yeah, I mean, they kind of set the stage for what happened one day later, right? With all these lots of goals. And I remember, like, last podcast, I think we were talking about Spain, how, I mean, they're good, they're doing a lot of good things, but they don't have a goal scorer, like they don't have a real number 9.
Hilarious.
It turns out they scored 5 goals twice in 2 games now.
Yeah.
So it just shows, like, you know, one thing we always see in national championships and national, you know, country football is that you don't really get the real high caliber of coaches and managers that make the switch to coaching national teams. 2 teams have that in this tournament, which is Italy and Spain, and, you know, no surprise, they are actually the 2 teams that are doing well. So like, even in the previous games when Spain wasn't doing well, I thought, you know, from the coaching point of view, the manager was doing his job. You know, they just weren't converting. There's not a lot he can do. So it should have been a much more comfortable game, though. I don't think Croatia had a really great game themselves. But Spain, you know, kept making those forward runs. In a sense, very different from France, the way they came back, they went ahead 3-1. But France really only had a spell of 15 minutes or 20 minutes where they dominated. I thought Spain was dominating all throughout that the 90 minutes, and then through the 30 minutes of extra time. And it's good to see somebody like Alvaro Morata, you know, having he's made some comments in public about how he's, you know, the level of abuse he's gotten at a very personal level. And it's good to see, you know, he got that goal. He had another chance which he missed, but, you know, as long as you're getting those goals, even for him, I think mentally it's a huge benefit, and got some goals from some unexpected quarters. I think the switch to having Azpilicueta as right back was a good one, because he's somebody that just hasn't been used at all at Spain level.
Mm-hmm.
And that's because they had really high quality right backs and left backs available, but we've seen him do that at club level, popping in with the odd goal here and there. He did that, and I think it's a team that looks really good. If their keeper can avoid being an Athletic Bilbao keeper for the duration of 90 minutes, I think they'll do well.
Maybe he got it out of his system on that whiff.
Let's go. Yeah.
But Pedri, Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And then Pedri's 18, and Thiago Alcantara can't get on the field because of an 18-year-old. That is kind of crazy. And Pedri deserves to be out there. I felt like Luis Enrique made some terrible subs during that game when he thought he won, and he put his team in jeopardy of going to penalties without all his scorers being on the bench. And he's lucky that Morata, he's lucky he's stuck with Morata, who has missed some very easy goals, and he scored one of the hardest goals under the most pressure in his career. So congrats to Morata on that. But please, Morata, stop fucking diving on the field. That's not the vibe of the tournament. They're not giving up those bullshit fouls, and you are getting death threats. But I will give you a death threat if you dive again.
It's interesting in that game as well, though. Like before the crazy weird own goal, like Spain were dominating. That was one of the most one-sided games I've seen in the tournament in those first 20 minutes leading up to the own goal. Like it came out of nowhere because Spain were in complete control. Like they were dominating the ball, they were creating chances, and it kind of made the game a little bit weird because all of a sudden Croatia have something to hold on to. And I think it was good for Spain that it didn't take them too long to get back level when Sarabia scored. And he's a player who's grown, I think, for Spain. Like they put him in for the Slovakia game from the start, and he took his chance, so he started again. And him and Ferran Torres, I thought they both looked quite good in this game.
Both got subbed, by the way, and that was the reason they got into some problems later, because he subbed them when they were leading 3-1. He took them off.
They were stretching the play. They were doing.
They started celebrating the win.
Yeah, but I mean, credit for Croatia for getting back in. I felt a little bit sorry for Luka Modric by the end of the game. Just watching him get ran into the ground for his final, I'm presuming it's his final tournament appearance for Croatia. I don't know if he'll go on to the World Cup, but he looked the most tired man at the tournament come the end of this game.
Right. Like Lee, you said it was good to see Benzema playing a tournament, but the World Cup is like next year winter. So he, it's not like back in the day before Corona. Like he's still got another shot at the World Cup.
Potentially, so it's not a certainty. Like they might choose to change things up again, but yeah, I mean, it might be. Who knows? Hopefully, he's still playing because he's, like I say, I love watching him. He's just a great finisher.
All right. I was gonna pick.
Can I ask about that game a little bit? So Spain, very impressive the way they play football. They move the ball very, very well between themselves, and they create chances. They're vulnerable back, and I think Pau Torres again came on, and he was.
Martin, your audio's off. We can't hear you. Yeah, that's better.
So I said that that the way they move the ball, the way they create chances, the way they play together, it's very impressive. But they have their vulnerabilities with defensive formation, and Pau Torres again, not a very good performance from the guy that came on to help them keep the result, and actually was involved in both goals at the end of the game. If they can outscore opponents, great. I don't think that will win you a title. I don't think they can be champions of Europe by outscoring opponents. Maybe they can win one more game that way against Switzerland, but then it will be problematic afterwards. So they have to tighten up the defense. The only question is if they can, because there is it's a strange Spain team. They seem to be very kind of happy-go-lucky team. You know, like the attitude they have, it's like they play very Brazil 1982 type of a football that, you know, like they create a lot of chances, but they're very vulnerable in the back. Even in the Poland game, that was the only game that Poland got points from in the entire tournament. Poland hit the post, Poland had another chances, and they scored a goal. You know, they're vulnerable at the back. And if someone can expose them and defend them well, the only question is if Spain is beatable. And Luis Enrique made mistakes, as you said, at the end of that game that could have been costly, because don't forget one thing that wasn't mentioned here. At the beginning of overtime, the keeper, the Athletic Bilbao keeper, saved their asses, because there was a huge opportunity for Croatia to score the fourth goal, and he had a great save. So
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
you know,
I want to give a shout out to Moa, who has been on the podcast. So at some point today, 12:25 p.m., he texts me. He's from Sweden. We got this. Can't wait to play average England side who is overrated. Well, Moa, you can keep on waiting because you're lost and you're out the tournament, and we will play Ukraine. And we will be playing Ukraine. Rated side.
Martin has, especially Martin has Ukraine 2020 champs. And, he was backing Sweden before the game, right? Like he was actively rooting against Ukraine.
Yeah.
A couple of hours ago.
I did say in our preview, though, that Ukraine are the actual world champions under 21, and they're a dangerous team. And so far, so good. And Shevchenko is your boy, Shevchenko from Chelsea. Your boy is doing a good job.
Yeah, he is.
Yeah, we gotta keep an eye out for him when inevitably we need another manager.
Yeah, and I want to give a shout out to Zinchenko during that game, because he scored one of the best technical goals of the tournament, like on a volley, like hit low, no hesitation, left foot, unstoppable. But then I know Sweden went down a man, but they kept on letting Zinchenko get opportunities to practice his cross into the box, and some of those crosses were below standard. But then on the last one, right before the whistle, he's like, all right, this is how I should be crossing it. It was like crossing practice for him. And then he nailed it. And, you know, his player, I can't remember his name, got his head on the ball. And the game ended like the last shot of a basketball game before the whistle. And that shit was crazy.
I think it was tactically very smart, though. Like they knew that they have this man advantage.
Right.
You're throwing away that advantage if you go to penalties.
Yes.
So they did everything they could to like get that. It was all Ukraine in the last 5 to 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it was all Ukraine, and they should have been. It would have been embarrassing if they didn't take advantage of that extra man. Do you guys think it should have been a red card?
No. I mean, the guy's gone to clear the ball. The follow through is unfortunate, but it's kind of unavoidable. In my book. I would say it's not a red. Like it's just one of those unfortunate things. Like it's bad that it's happened because the guy's, you know, it's hurt him. But I don't think you can avoid it. And we saw ones like that this season in the Premier League.
Yeah, I remember.
There was the Leeds defender against Man City who took a red for the same thing, and then the Premier League looked at it and overturned it. But that's no good in knockout tournament football, because you know what's done is done. So
they can rescind it.
I don't know if there's even a procedure to do that.
How does it help Sweden?
It doesn't, but they can rescind it. I never said it would. I was just like, maybe the next friendly, the next international, he can play. But like the guy, the guy got, the Ukraine guy got taken off too. Now I know I said like let's look at games, but let's look at the games that's coming up. And
just one thing I want to add about Sweden, like we got carried away a little bit with Sweden overall. Who's we?
Who's we?
Yeah.
I don't remember any of us except maybe one person saying.
While Denmark is dangerous, and if Denmark makes it to the semifinals, and let's say play England,
well, Martin, let's talk about let's go in order. Belgium, Italy, guys. What's your feelings?
That one's quite interesting because, like the Belgium-Portugal game, everyone thought that Belgium would dominate and Portugal would just sit back. And there were times when Portugal did, but Portugal dominated. Like they had more possession. They had something like 24 shots to Belgium's 9.
Oh yeah.
Or something. I know a lot of that was when they were chasing the game after Hazard's great goal.
Yeah.
The lesser known Hazard.
Another player that Chelsea let go.
But like for me, Belgium, it's weird because they've got this far and they've had a couple of moments in the group stage. They've not looked fully convincing yet, and I think they've got, that they've got some of the best players in the world, but they've also got flaws in that team. That defense looks a bit shaky, even though they kept a clean sheet. They were giving up a lot of chances.
It's a bunch of old guys there. It's some guys that could hang out with the guys in the balcony of the Muppet Show age. They used to play for Spurs.
And De Bruyne and Eden Hazard don't look fully with it at the moment.
What if they're injured and you got to play Italy? What if they don't come back?
It's my point, but I'll get there.
All right.
It's a big question as to whether those guys can find a bit of energy and deliver. Like De Bruyne, you could still see when he's on the pitch, you can still see the flashes of his quality. He still does some great things, but he doesn't look 100%. Eden Hazard doesn't look 100%. The only big player for them who is looking with it is Lukaku. So it'll be interesting to see, who shows up for them against Italy, because I'm really looking forward to that. That's the quarterfinal. I know England are in the quarterfinals, but that's the quarterfinal I'm most looking forward to watching, is that one.
And Neil, how you feel about this game?
Yeah, it should be a good game. Again, it'll completely depend on how fit those two guys are, and I'm reading like all sorts of conflicting reports.
It's tough, right?
It seems to be at one point it was like they won't be available, but maybe there's a chance they might train a day before the game. Should be one thing is like both teams know exactly how they want to play, because both teams have had their managers around for a while. I think they're two very well-oiled systems, and it's good to be excited to watch Italy games after all these years of that game of the week being the most. You can just kind of like let that be not on your list. But this is an Italy team that doesn't play like Italy at all. It maybe plays like newfound Italy. Since
England. England's a new Italy, baby. So if you ever get bored of some new Italy, like England plays like Italy, and Italy's playing like Kevin Keegan is their manager.
Well, I think Italian football has also had kind of ever since Sarri had his time at Napoli, it's become a lot more possession oriented football, which is what right now they're doing with that midfield there. So maybe it is what we need to get used to, what new Italian football is, more than thinking it's not Italian football. So I think that should be a really good game.
I made a big mistake on the podcast, and you guys didn't correct me. When the first podcast we talked about Italy, and I said like Immobile and Insigne played together on Napoli, and
it's Palacio, I correctly. Let me my point then. For me, it's a premature final. Those are two best teams in the tournament. Forget some England teams, maybe okay. Here's one thing for Italy: if De Bruyne is not playing, I don't know because that wasn't mentioned on the podcast. They didn't lose in 30 plus games, Italy, as a national team. They're on a non-losing 30, but I think 33 games without losing. That's a very, very, very good streak, man. It's respect for that. It's difficult, with the amount of games you're playing and competitions you're involved with, to not lose in that many games in a row. And plus Mancini is a winner, as you probably know, Ian, about that something, from his time at the Premier League. Mm-hmm. He's a winner. He knows how to.
You should know too.
I do.
You're in your team is in the Premier League, right?
Yeah, well, I didn't get that part up in competing with Mancini's teams, but I'll tell you what, like he's done a miracle in the last 2 years. He completely changed the fortune of this team. This team's very, very well organized. It's hard to score against them. They play together. There is a passion and there's a youth, within this team. So. And they also have very experienced defenders. So there's a youth up front and there's experience in the back. That's a perfect formula for winning the tournament. And for me right now, they're the number one favorite to win.
So you think they're going to beat Belgium?
If De Bruyne is not playing, yes. If De Bruyne is playing, it's a 50-50. It's the 50-50 proposition for me.
All right, I might agree with that. Yeah, why not? What about who up next? Where is this thing?
I just want to add that Carrasco will play instead of Hazard. So let's see what he's got.
Which Hazard? There's two of them.
Eden Hazard. He's done,
Eden.
right?
Yeah, Carrasco's not bad. Carrasco is legit. What about Switzerland, Spain? What y'all got? Neil, what's your feeling? Oh, you're muted, Neil.
Oh, sorry. No, I'm feeling Spain because like any team that scored 10 goals in 2 games. I mean, that seemed to be their only flaw at the beginning of the tournament. And they got that part of the game going. Switzerland's going to be tough, definitely. But I'm definitely backing Spain on this one.
You betting against Xhaka? Man, you ballsy, bro. He's the new Conte, according to somebody else in green.
Yeah, I mean, I was kind of surprised that Martins put all his hopes on an ex. Well, I don't know. Has he moved from Arsenal?
Yeah, he's going to Roma. He's going to join.
Is that official though?
Yeah,
Near enough, I think.
Yeah, but because I think somebody after the game asked him, and I guess. The way Xhaka replied was like, I think he's hoping that this performance kind of opens up some more doors for him, so he doesn't have to go and play under somebody who's kind of ready to lose his throw the toys out of the pram at any moment.
You're living in one of the greatest cities in the world, where it's incredible to live in Rome.
you're saying it's incredible to lose in Rome? Is that what you're saying?
I mean, listen, he knows he's not Busquets. I mean, to live in Rome and make good money and
I thought he was.
Based on what you said earlier.
You made us all believe that he was.
Yeah.
He had the game of his life. And he put Kante in his pocket, and size-wise, comparing their sizes, that's actually doable, I think.
I think it helped him that Kante had completely vacated that part of the pitch. You gotta. Didier Deschamps forgot where he himself used to play.
So hilarious. Lee, what do you think about Spain, Switzerland?
I think Spain should win. They have more quality, but I think Seferovic will look at the goals that Spain conceded from crosses. And he'll be confident because those Spain centre-backs didn't look like they want to deal with balls in the air. Garcia didn't look like he wanted to deal with it. Laporte didn't. And then they brought on Pau Torres as well to try and deal with that. And he didn't deal with it either. Seferovic he's a presence in the penalty box. I mean, he scored one header against France. He had, was it another one disallowed or something? Or did he score 2? Was it 2 headers? Sorry.
It was from a cross and he scored.
Yeah.
Or it was a pass to him that was like a cross and he scored, but he was offside.
Yeah. So, the guys are presence in the box and that could cause Spain problems, but I still can't see past them in terms of the quality they've got. If they dominate like they did to begin with against Croatia and they don't score a crazy own goal, they should control the game, in my opinion. But I wouldn't count Switzerland out. It just depends whether Switzerland have anything left after all they gave against France. I know Spain went to extra time as well, but I think it took less out of them than it took out of Switzerland going all the distance against France. So we'll see. I think Spain will win it, but it won't be a big score.
All right. That's the thing. It's like There's been this. How many upsets has it been? Because Netherlands got beat, and then
Poor Frank de Boer.
Switzerland. There's so many upsets. Like, can these people get past their upsets? The only thing that gives me confident about England beating Germany today was what Southgate said after the game. You know, he's like, this will be a disappointment if we don't win on, I think it's a Saturday or Friday we're playing. So he was.
It's no use celebrating now if we don't win on Saturday. Yeah.
So he's already back to like that. That gave me confidence because you could, you know, celebrate too much. And he did say that emotionally this game took a lot out of the team, and he has to like assess and use other players. And then somebody said something earlier that was pretty important. I think it was Neil with the group of death. It's like, because England did have one game off, and it was their last game in their group, where there was less emotional energy being burned, you know. And for France and for Portugal and for Germany, like I've waited to go on stage, right, and done an hour show, and I burned more energy waiting to go on stage than I did during the actual hour show. So imagine preparing for a few days to play Germany, a few days to play Portugal, a few days to play fucking Hungary after you see them. That burns up a lot of energy. And then waiting in the tunnel, the anthem, and then having to do the same process for all the teams, it burns up a lot of shit. So so I'm glad Southgate as a player like is aware of that, and is like,
and this is Southgate's strength. Like if you look at the World Cup run, they cleaned up the teams that they had to clean up. Right. It's only when they came up with somebody like against somebody like Croatia that and even that game, like they had it. They kind of didn't get it at the end, but I mean, some people are saying semi-final. For me, it feels like they have a clear path to the final.
Right. I feel like they're the favorite, but that just means, like, I'm not afraid to admit that they're the favorites on this side of the bracket, but we've seen what happened to other favorites in this tournament, like in this round. So it's like, yeah, you're the favorite, but now just watch your back.
They don't play like favorites, so maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But it would be a real England thing to do now, to beat Germany and then lose to Ukraine. Like that
it would be a real Man United thing to do. Beat Man City and then lose to Sheffield United, who's already relegated. You know. Martin, did you have anything to say about, is it Spain, Switzerland?
I need to see more from Shaqiri. He didn't have a great game against
You've seen it.
When they were leading 3-1, and I believe, and he needs to do more for them against Spain, because they're gonna play a passing football, and that Shaqiri is like the most Spanish type of a player they have on Switzerland. So he's the finesse player, the only finesse player probably they have, and so he needs to step it up. And we watched the game together. We know one thing about Shaqiri, that he is one of the most unpredictable players in football, probably.
No, he's pretty predictable.
No, it's hard to say when he will have his great game.
That's the predictable part about it.
It could be this one. Who knows?
It's once every 3 games. I think he's do one more okay game, subpar game, and then the good game. But he doesn't have that time. He doesn't have that luxury.
So I think if he has a great game and Xhaka continues to do what he did, Switzerland can make an upset, because this Spanish team is dangerous but full of flaws. But I'm gonna go with Spain.
What about Martin? What about Czech Republic versus Denmark?
Very tough, because both teams are interesting. Both teams are kind of under the radar. As Denmark already made history as the only team ever to qualify after losing first 2 games. It never happened in the tournament before. So, and the way they were in the last 2 games was very impressive, because they won by a big margin. They have something to play for, someone to play for. But they play for Eriksen, I believe, the rest of the tournament.
A lot of emotion.
They can definitely beat Czech Republic, although Czech Republic is a good team. So it's a 50-50 proposition again.
What do you think, Lee? Czech Republic?
I think it's more slightly more in Denmark's favour, like a 55-45 or a 60-40. I think Denmark have more quality from 1 to 11 in their team, but the Czech Republic have some good players. You know, Schick is in form. He's going for the golden boot now. If he can get another, you know.
Schick is trying to rob you of some money.
Yeah. Although I don't know if Lukaku's going to make it now. Ronaldo could win the golden boot even though he's finished in the tournament.
How many goals does he have now, Ronaldo?
He's on 5.
Oh shit.
Ronaldo's on 5. Sorry. So there's Benzema was on 4, and obviously he's out. And then there's a whole bunch of dudes on 3 as well. So including Lukaku. So we'll see what happens. But I think Denmark should edge it. But like Martin said, you can't count Czech Republic out. They've got some good players. It's knockout football. So they'll be solid. They'll be hard to beat. I don't think Denmark will score as many as they've been scoring in the last couple of games. I think they'll really have to grind it out. But they've got the players to do that. So I think Denmark, but it'll be close. I think it'll be like a Denmark win by 1 goal.
Denmark has been creating chances like Spain has. It's just that they finally put those chances away in that last game against Wales. But you got to remember, it was Wales. So, you know, Czech Republic, you know, I'm with you, like 54, you know, whatever the percentage is left. Czech. What's up, Neil? What you got?
Yeah, I think Denmark's pretty interesting too. Like, you know, just like Spain, Denmark last 2 games, 4 goals in both games. So they are in good attacking form, and they've. In fact, I think they're probably the only team so far left in the competition that have been solid both going forward and at the back, because I think they had the most comfortable round of 16 win out of all the 8 teams that qualified. So I would put them at a higher than I guess I feel you guys are underplaying Denmark a little bit. I think they should be clear favorites on this one.
I mean, they are, but you know, I don't trust any of the Eastern European countries based on what I've seen them do in this tournament so far.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't even know if Czech Republic is an Eastern European country. It just sounds like it.
It should be.
Yeah.
This is an Eastern European country.
I don't trust exactly. I don't trust them. They be doing shit in this tournament. Martin, Czech or Denmark?
Oh, I said it 50-50.
50-50. All right.
But I would like us to. I think that's the right moment right now when it's still games to play. I think it would be cool if we bet who will win the Euros right now at this point.
Now, we don't have the time to do that, but we have time to do Ukraine, England. Okay. So what you think, Martin?
Ukraine 1-0.
Such a hater. All right, Neil, let's just go to somewhere that hopefully makes more sense. Is there any reason why you said 1-0, Martin? Just besides the fact that Ukraine is not England?
No, here's how it's gonna go. Yarmolenko always likes to cut to the middle and hit with his left, and once they allow him to do that, he's unstoppable. So I think that's what's going to happen. Yarmolenko will cut to the middle, hit with the left, and put it in the corner.
He had a chance to do that today, and he didn't do it.
But he did it against Holland.
I know.
Do it again.
In game 1.
Yeah, in game 1 against Poland.
Holland.
I mean Holland. Yeah.
He did it against Poland though in 2013 in Warsaw. Yeah, exactly the same goal.
All right. Neil, could you clear up Martin's?
I feel England should win, but I think what's going to happen is England's going to win comfortably, and now Southgate's going to have a problem because he's probably going to change a few things, and that's also going to work. So now, what does he do for the game coming forward? So I think what will be interesting to see is if he sticks to exactly what worked against Germany, and I feel he should not, because you're playing a team that is probably gonna not try and attack you a lot, so you should feel comfortable being a bit more attacking yourself.
All right. And what do you think, Lee? Your country versus
Ukraine. England are favourites. I think that's undeniable. But Ukraine are scrappy. They'll fight. They're not going to give us anything easy. So I don't think we'll roll. Yeah, I don't think we'll roll them over. I think England will go back to a back four for this one. I think we'll want to have more attacking players on the field. I think the switch today was more to work against Germany's formation. We knew we could just go 2v2 in the centre midfield because they only had 2 players there. And we could then just match up the wing backs and have a back three defending their attacking players. But I think we'll go back to this one. But then if we end up facing, if we do win and we face Denmark, if they can beat Czech Republic, Denmark play a back three. So will we switch back again? But that might be looking too far down the road. We need to concentrate on this one. And I think England will do it. But I think Ukraine will make us work for it. I don't think it will be very comfortable. I think they'll make life difficult. They'll scrap, they'll fight. You saw in this game today, they had so much will to just work for each other and not make anything easy. So, I think England will do it. It'll be like a 1-0 or even a 2-1. But I think we'll get the job done.
Yeah, I agree with you. Like a lot of teams play really good football, like better football than we expect them to. Like Ukraine plays good football. Even Switzerland plays good football. Sweden plays good football, like pretty decent. Like today in the studio and ESPN, they were like, Switzerland's gonna sit down in a low block and defend, and they're gonna win this game. And I was like, did you see Sweden versus Poland? Like, why would you even say that? And they played Poland, who's considered stronger than the Ukraine. So why wouldn't they have a go at the Ukraine, which they did today for most of the game? And then, but Ukraine was like, let me finish, Martin. And then Ukraine had a go back. So, and it was good football. It wasn't like disjointed. So I just feel like England's going to have to like just be as focused as they are against any great team to beat the Ukraine. You just can't trust these. They're counting on you to underestimate them, and you can't.
Yeah. Poland self-sabotaged themselves against Sweden. That's why they lost the game. But here's one. They had a coach who didn't know the players, and he was putting players on the wrong positions that they never played. So that's what happened with Poland. When you hire a coach from a foreign coach who doesn't know the players 3 months before the tournament, it's completely nonsense as always.
So you're saying Lewandowski should have played defense?
No, but the guy who they put on the left midfield, he plays a right back. The guy who played in the center, he plays a right back. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But let me. Here is a thing for England, Ukraine. Ready? I
don't know if we have the rights to that. I don't want the. Martin, turn it off. I don't want all this work we put into an hour and a half be flagged for some song I don't even understand. That's bananas.
I mean, that's a joke. But to be more serious, I mean, it's interesting that Shevchenko is in this position, because he never won with as a player with a national team, and he was one of the greatest players in the world at some point.
Yeah.
Maybe not the Chelsea point, but the AC Milan point for sure.
Yeah.
And now he, as a coach, he kind of, because they went to the quarterfinals in the World Cup 2006, and then they got beaten pretty bad by Italy, who won the title later. So that's if they can make an upset, and the upsets sometimes happen in the quarterfinals. I remember 1994 Bulgaria beating Germany. 1998 Turkey beat someone in the quarterfinal, and they went to the top 4. So that happens sometimes.
All right. Well, I'm about to wrap it up. So we're gonna get out of here. I do want to say Declan Rice, it's the best I've ever seen him play today, and he was pumped, not in a cocky way, but in like, I believe in myself, and he's like trying to get the crowd into it. So that was pretty dope.
Yeah,
to see that, to like, that moment when England finally started believing in themselves.
It's not easy to play that long with a yellow card on your name as well.
Yeah, man. Like, you give him we should start him off with a yellow card every game, and he'll step up. Jesus Christ, like where's my card at? Jesus. And Sacco, Grealish, Sterling, and I was down on Kane throughout the game, and Martin was saying, "Oh, he's hurt," and then Kane scored the goal that just finally gave you that the relief that that let you know that England was gonna win this game.
Luke Shaw was great.
Luke Shaw, man, Luke
Growing.
Shaw,
Bullied by Mourinho. at
hero.
Menu, yeah.
Yeah, and then so Mourinho, like you sent me that thing, Lee, about Mourinho criticizing his crosses,
Yeah.
right? How are you going to criticize Luke Shaw's crosses now?
Exactly.
Because that's exactly how England won the game, from a Luke Shaw cross.
All these players we spoke about, though, do you know who UEFA gave man of the match to?
Let me guess. I think they gave it to Shaw, right?
Harry Maguire.
I'm not. I don't think it's that far off. He had a very good game.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had a good. I'm not mad at it, but that makes that, like, I don't know. I don't know if I'm changing lately, but like I'm saying racism more, and I never was that guy. But that seems like you haven't beat Germany in a while. You need to score goals, and Sterling scored goals. You just give it to Sterling. And if you don't give it to Sterling, you give it to Shaw. Shaw had a better game.
Or Grealish, who came on and pretty much played a huge part in both games.
He was involved in all the goals. Yeah.
Yeah, he got an assist and he did the assist.
Yeah.
He should play next game from the start. I mean, he should. I mean, he really should.
Yeah. So we'll see. Well, guys, thank you. The Euros has been fucking crazy and amazing. And it's good. It's fun in the chat. Martin, keep being the troll you are.
We're gonna watch the next England game together, and I'm rooting for Ukraine.
Yeah, it's good to see the tears in your eyes. So yeah, let's do it. Lee, thanks for coming through, saying your thing. Neil, you got anything you want to say last?
Yeah, as we were speaking, I managed to find verbatim the quote from Rabiot's mother.
Oh, okay.
But I can't wait.
And give us the
He was on
context.
the warpath.
Give us the context of
No,
this.
basically she went to Mbappe's parents or somebody and said that that was such a weak shot. A player like him should not be taking such a weak penalty or something like that.
She told his father to discipline him and make him not so arrogant as well.
Yeah.
And which sounds arrogant for somebody to say to somebody else. Yeah, but it's a whole thing, right? So
okay, she said it's embarrassing how he struck that for a player of his level. He hit it too lightly. I hope you're going to scold him.
Yeah. So all the parents of all the players are fighting as if it's soccer mom, like taking their kids to a recreational activity on the team that they paid for the kids to be on, and there's lemon, they're sucking orange wedges, and they're just arguing and blaming each other's parents' kids.
But it might be a little
team lost.
But it might be a little more serious than that, though, because the latest reports are coming up. It wasn't just the parents who were fighting.
Mhm.
Like apparently Rabiot and Pogba insulted each other. Rabiot unhappy with Pogba's defensive efforts. Then Varane insulted Pavard, unhappy with his defending. Pavard blamed Pogba for doing no defending. Varane later backed Pavard up. So it's kicking off.
Well, Mbappe
It's
and
French.
Giroud were fighting before the tournament as well.
Yeah.
By the way, I forgot about Rabiot. He was also pretty bad for France. He actually he didn't play in the World Cup. They left him off the team, and he had a chance to. I think they left him off 2 teams in a row, and he was complaining in the media that he deserves to be there. He's better than this and this. Well, he had a chance to prove, and he didn't prove anything.
But again,
but
he was being played as
fullback.
a left back. Yeah, like it was.
Exactly.
It's not what he does.
Not what he does.
I think this loss was on Deschamps.
Yeah, then
It's on Deschamps. It's on Deschamps, man. He should have brought backs. You got to bring backs to a tournament. You can't have one back on each side. That's the craziest thing I've ever seen someone who's won a World Cup do.
Time to give Zidane that job.
Yeah. I mean, I think Deschamps is a good coach, but that shit, like no backs, just one on each side, and that's it. And then all attackers or extra central defenders.
Yeah.
doesn't
And then
make
he never didn't use them. Like,
And then he didn't use them.
so when he needed to make a change because of injury or whatever, he had to like completely change his system. And that's, you don't do that in such a high stakes tournament.
Yeah. Well, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody, for listening. Thank you, Aaron Brungard, for producing this. Everybody, stay in love with each other, man, and enjoy this tournament. And we see y'all next week. Thanks. Peace.
Thanks.